This should make the purists happy.
Hi everybody, it's Jim from Sprague Woodturning. A little bonus video this week. This is a natural edge walnut bowl, and I'm just cleaning off the anchor seal off the bottom because this is twice turned. Been through my kilns, and it's ready to go. Hot melt glue and an electric frying pan. This is the main method that I like to finish my bowls. It's incredibly strong. It's surprisingly strong. I know there's some skeptics out there, but it is actually very, very strong. So for this project, we're just going to be using the 5/8 bowl gouge, and of course the one that I use is from David Ellsworth. I typically will stick to the gouge if there's no resin involved. And again, I'm a firm believer that if you're going to be a turner, you have got to learn how to use the bowl gouge if you're going to do bowls. But anyway, the gouge is my number one method for just dealing with normal wood bowls without any resin and any inlay materials. And like I said, if I know that a lot of people are intimidated by the gouge, you really shouldn't be, and it should be the primary tool that you're going to turn with if you're not doing resin or other natural inlays. Now this piece, there was actually a little piece of bark, a little area that the bark had delaminated from the bowl, and for some reason, I was thinking that it was just uh, typically when bowls dry, the bark will shrink more than the surrounding wood will. So I figured that's all it was, but it ended up I actually have to do a repair with the CA glue coming up. Before we get to that, here I'm just showing shear scraping in real time. So the handle is dropped way down, and I'm cutting on the long swept back wings on the gouge predominantly. And you can see those really fine shavings. That's really what you're looking for. And it is by far the most effective way to take any ingrained tear out that's on the outside of a bowl for sure. And there's a nice surface where there's absolutely no tear out, and we are ready for sanding once I repair the delamination from the bark. Now this is where I think a lot of people have problems when they make these bowls. They can be intimidating to make. You've got those high wings, so it's hard. Well, it's not hard, but it's difficult at times to enter the wood to get a shoulder for the bevel to ride on. So you'll see the gouge, I've got it probably at a 45-degree angle. You could actually put it right on its side. I didn't really see a need for that. Once you've got a shoulder established, you can rotate the flutes up like I did just right there, and you can do a push cut all the way to the center of the bowl. Now this is an open form, so it makes it easier to do on a form like this as opposed to one that's got straight walls. But the principles are essentially the same. Get a shoulder out by the edge where the bark is, and then once you've got that, so the bevel's got something to write on, you're good to go. I should have mentioned that that was actually in real time as well, where this is now, of course, sped up. I was just showing a freshly sharpened gouge to take the final pass on. Like I said earlier, we've got some bark to fix, so the medium CA from Starbond is a good choice for that. So I just try to squeeze it down in between the bark and the wood and wipe away the excess, and then pull up on that bark and set it with the accelerator, and that usually works just fine. So to get rid of any excess CA glue on the inside and the outside of the bowl, I just give it one last little trimming prior to sanding. And this is an interesting look at the shear scraping from the inside of the bowl looking out. It's really effective. So I used this flap sander in a recent video and I couldn't remember where I got it from. And it dawned on me that I got it at Princess Auto here in Canada. And I think it's a 120 wheel, I think is what it is. And it does a real good job getting down in those deep crevices to clean up the bark prior to any finish going on. Now, of course, sanding with the 3.5-inch dibble discs from sandpaper.ca, 60 to 320. 320 is typically as high as I go on non-resin bowls. If it has an inlay material in it, then I'll probably sand a little higher there. There I had to do another little filling. I noticed that just one spot wasn't attached properly, so I gave it some thin CA glue this time and then just carried on with sanding.
All right, so I was going to cover this in a voiceover, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to, so I thought I would do this now. So these natural edge bowls with these high wings, they can be a challenge to sand. And one of the reasons why I use these dimple discs is because they wrap around the sanding pad. So as you work your way out to the edge, you want the sanding pad to be as flat as possible on the surface of the wood. And there's two reasons for that. You'll get less dig in, and this bark is a lot softer than the bowl is, and I can feel that it's actually thinner than the bowl is, and that's, you know, this is a much softer material than this is, so you know it's virtually impossible not to get that. When the disc is in contact with the wood, just slightly tilt it upwards. If you tilt it down too far, then as this is spinning, it's going to catch and you'll get some dig-ins. So this is really bad with discs that are just the size of the sanding pad and don't have the wraparound like this. So because these are wrapped around, you have a tendency to get less dig-ins. So try and keep the pad as flat as you can on the surface of the wood, but just tilt it up slightly so that this doesn't contact before the top does. And it'll be fine.
Once I get done sanding, I like to go back over the bark again with that flap sander, and that will remove any little hairy bits of bark that may have been lifted from the sanding of the bowl.
All right, this is my new favorite finish, Waterlox. First coat, and like I always say, it is the best part. All right, was it ever bring that walnut alive? Pretty dull before that. Saturate the bark heavily, haven't wiped any of it off. We'll be ready for the second coat tomorrow. Pretty stuff. See you tomorrow.
So it is the next day, and here we are with the brown triple E again. I'm finding that this is starting to be my go-to method as far as finishing pretty much all finishes. Still figuring out a little stuff with this Waterlox, but you know, so far it's been really, really good. And of course, cleaning off with denatured alcohol before the finish goes on.
Well, good morning. It is the second coat, Waterlox. I will say that I put this coat on really, really heavy yesterday, and there was none of it standing on the surface of the bowl. The wood had absorbed it all, which is surprising. I really saturated it, but it sucked it all in, that's for sure. I find it very hard to put the finish on these natural edge bowls out by the bark, so typically I shut the lathe off and then just apply it with the lathe off. Well, there you go. There is kind of a, I do find that the walnut has a greenish tinge to it. It's very pretty stuff, so there's no doubt about it. Love me my walnut. The king of North American hardwoods. In my mind, anyway. All right, well, it's going to need another coat for sure. And I'll see you when we're doing the foot.
So that's what the bowl looks like after 3 coats. It is maybe a little heavier in some spots than I would like it to be, but I would sooner have it a little heavier than not be there at all. So before I part this off, I like to clean any leftover glue that's in the way, get that out of the way, and then of course just cut it off with a handsaw. And of course here I'm using the vacuum chuck to finish the bottom of the bowl. The bottom here was sanded from 180 to 320. Keep in mind that usually on the very bottom of the bowl, it's all face grain, so it's easy to sand. This is the Raffin spear point tool, and it just gives the bottom a little, dresses it up a little bit, and just some final hand sanding just to clean it up. All right, let's have a talk about our bowl and finish this video up.
Well, all right, let's have a last little look at our beautiful natural edge walnut bowl. Now this piece ended up being 12 inches across the top, 10 inches across the lower part of the bark here, and 4 inches tall. And I believe that this is a core from my coring video, actually. It's a nice profile. I like the profile. Nice open profile. When it comes to sanding the bark, you got to be really, really careful. It's so easy to really make this bark a lot thinner than the bowl is. On the outside, you can feel it's deviated a little bit. On the inside, a little more. But you know, when you rub your fingers down from the bark into the bowl, you can feel the difference. And you know, I don't see any way around that. I really don't. Maybe possibly hand sanding, but man, it would be quite a chore. Regardless, I mean, it's a beautiful bowl, and you know, these natural edge bowls, particularly in Canada and Ontario, the province that I'm in, they're very, very popular. The only problem that I really have with them is that, you know, it's kind of a rustic item, and that doesn't really fit my business model. You know, prior to being on YouTube, I was doing a lot of inlay work. I wasn't doing any resin work. Now that I've got resin, I mean, I really like working with the resin. And you know, a lot of the purists that follow my channel, they're kind of like, hey, where's the wood? This is for Dave, by the way. Dave made a comment, hey, are we ever going to see any wood again? Just wood pieces? Well, there you go, Dave. This is for you, buddy. So if you're wondering, pieces like this will typically sell for $160 Canadian, and this one is available if you want it. Here's the very bottom. Still need 2 more coats of finished on the bottom, and it will be done. Longevity of this piece. If this is just sitting on as a centerpiece on your table, I have no issues. I don't think that this bark will ever come off. But if it's being used for function where you've got a salad in it and it's going in and out of the sink and being washed, I can't help but think that over time that the bark is going to maybe delaminate from the wood. Maybe, maybe not. You certainly can share your experiences if you've got one of these bowls, and or a bowl like this. But you know, that's the only real knock that I've got on it, and the fact that it's kind of a little more rustic than what I make. So, but I make them because I know that people love them. So that's kind of one of the things that keeps you in business, is you got to make things that people want, even if you don't want to make them. That's basically what it is. And for the record, I don't really care to make separate salt and pepper mills either. Matter of fact, I hate them, but they're good sellers, so I make them. So it's just one of those things. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about this video. I am still going to put out a video on Friday, and it's going to be a rescue video for the walnut and lemon glitter resin pour that I mixed up wrong. So make sure you come on back for that. In this video here, that's a good example of why you should have your bell notification on, because if you didn't have your bell notification on, then you wouldn't know that I've uploaded this video today. All right, well, that's it. Don't forget about our sponsors in the description down below if you need any stuff. And I guess that's it. Till the next one, take care, stay safe. Don't forget that bell. I'll see you next time.